Have you ever felt like you were being tested, but no one told you the rules? One minute she's warm, laughing at your jokes, texting first. The next, she's cold, distant, barely replies, and suddenly, you're overthinking every move, wondering what you did wrong or, worse, what you didn't do enough of. This isn't love, this is psychological chess, and whether she means to or not, she's drawing you into a game most men lose by simply trying to win it. But here's the secret. The man who wins doesn't outplay her, he outgrows the game. In this series from The Chill Stoic, you'll discover how to master the one thing no one else can teach you: your emotional clarity. You'll learn how to stop reacting, stop chasing, and start living from a place of quiet, grounded power. Because the truth is, when you become untouchable on the inside, you become irresistible on the outside. So let's begin. Part 1. Emotional detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. Emotional detachment is not about pretending you don't care, it's about caring intelligently, about knowing who and what is truly worth your emotional investment. Too many men confuse obsession with love and anxiety with passion. They think that if they feel deeply, they should chase endlessly, that reacting quickly means they care enough. But in truth, constant reaction is just emotional vulnerability without direction. Detachment isn't apathy, it's balance. It's the quiet discipline of not letting someone else's emotional swings dictate your peace. When she pulls away, detachment allows you to stay still, not because you don't notice, but because you don't need to respond. And this stillness, it doesn't make you less attractive, it makes you magnetic. Studies in emotional intelligence, especially by psychologist Dr. Daniel Goleman, show that those who regulate emotions calmly under pressure are more respected, trusted, and desired. Detachment is not turning off your heart, it's strengthening your mind to protect it. So when she withdraws, you don't panic. When she tests you, you don't chase validation. You remain centered. You watch. You wait. You listen, not to her words, but to her consistency. And if her pattern speaks confusion, you don't decode it, you decline it. Because the man who is detached isn't lacking emotion, he's simply mastered when and how to give it. And in a world full of men reacting, the one who responds with calm presence becomes unforgettable. Part 2. Recognizing the pattern behind the game. What feels like mixed signals is often just a pattern in disguise. She leans in, makes you feel special, then withdraws. No warning, no reason. You're left guessing, wondering if you imagine the connection, that uncertainty. It's not random, it's a behavioral loop. Psychologists call it the intermittent reinforcement cycle, a term rooted in studies on addiction. When rewards, like affection or attention, come unpredictably, the brain becomes addicted to chasing the next high. It's the same mechanism used in slot machines. The same mechanism that keeps you hooked to someone emotionally inconsistent. And here's the trap. The more inconsistent she is, the harder you try to earn her stability, but the more you chase it, the less grounded you become. That's why recognizing the pattern is everything, because once you see it, you stop personalizing it. You stop blaming yourself. You stop trying to fix someone whose chaos isn't yours to carry. The Stoic doesn't overreact, he observes. He doesn't ask, why is she doing this to me? He asks, what pattern am I participating in? That shift in awareness? That's liberation. Dr. Robert Sapolsky, a neuroendocrinologist at Stanford, showed that unpredictable stress leads to higher cortisol spikes than predictable pain, meaning emotional inconsistency causes more anxiety than rejection itself. That's why these patterns are so damaging when you don't catch them early. But once you do, you gain back your control. You stop dancing to her rhythm. You let her behavior reveal itself while you stay still. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing certainty from her, you reclaim certainty within yourself. The man who recognizes the game no longer plays it. He studies it, then walks off the board. Part 3. Setting boundaries early isn't harsh. It's honest. Most men wait too long to set boundaries, usually after they've been disrespected. But boundaries are not punishments. They are invitations for others to treat you with clarity and care. If you avoid speaking up because you're afraid of pushing her away, you've already lost something more valuable, your self-respect. Early silence creates later resentment, and resentment always leaks out, often when it's too late. The truth is, boundaries aren't meant to control her behavior. They're meant to protect yours. Say this calmly: if I feel confused more than clear, I step away. Or if I see mixed energy I don't chase, I pause. These aren't ultimatums, they're signals, and the right woman won't resist them. She'll respect them. According to Dr. Henry Cloud, author of Boundaries, clear limits are essential to healthy relationships. Without them, dysfunction creeps in. Why? Because unclear people get used, drained, and eventually replaced by someone who knows how to say, enough. Setting a boundary early isn't about creating distance, it's about defining dignity. It says, I won't wait to be disrespected to choose myself. And in a world where most men are afraid to lose her, the one who calmly says, this doesn't work for me, becomes rare and powerful. Boundaries also filter. The wrong people will disappear when faced with them, but the right ones, they'll lean in. They'll meet you at your level. Because self-respect doesn't scare healthy women, it draws them closer. So don't wait for the third red flag. Don't wait until your voice trembles from built-up frustration. Speak early, speak with kindness, and most importantly, mean it. Because the man who leads with quiet standards never has to raise his voice to be heard. Part 4. Staying calm under pressure isn't weakness, it's emotional mastery. Most emotional tests don't come in the form of loud arguments. They come in silence, in small, calculated triggers. She brings up her ex, flirts with someone in front of you, makes a passive-aggressive remark, then watches what you do with it. Not to destroy you, but to see who you are under pressure. Many men take the bait. They react, get defensive, raise their voice, or worse, go silent, but seethe on the inside. Either way, they lose control, and more importantly, they show her that she controls it. But the grounded man? He pauses, breathes, observes, and chooses stillness over reaction. Not to play games, but to protect his energy. Dr. Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor and author of Man's Search for Meaning, once said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power and our freedom. That space, that pause, is where masculine presence is born. It doesn't mean you allow disrespect, it means you refuse to answer chaos with chaos. You don't match her fire, you neutralize it with calm. You don't punish her, you lead her back to emotional safety by not joining the storm. Imagine this: she says something sharp, designed to cut. You feel it hit, but you stay composed. You look at her and calmly say, if that's the energy you're bringing tonight, I'll take some space. Then you walk, without slamming doors, without drama. That move doesn't scream power, it radiates it. Because true control isn't loud, it's subtle, still, unshaken. And once she feels that stillness, not as silence, but as strength, she sees a man who doesn't need to dominate the moment, because he already owns himself. Part 5. Focusing on long-term goals makes you magnetic without trying. A man without direction is easily distracted. He gets pulled into emotional games not because he's weak, but because he lacks a deeper pull forward. When you have no bigger mission, small dramas feel like your purpose. But when your life is driven by long-term goals, you stop giving energy to people who aren't part of that journey. Women can sense this difference. They may not always say it, but purpose is magnetic. It's calm, unbothered. You're not chasing her, you're moving. And if she aligns, she joins. If not, you keep going without resentment. Dr. Angela Duckworth, author of Grit, found that perseverance toward long-term goals is more powerful than raw talent. Purpose becomes identity. When you live this way, you no longer ask, "Why is she pulling back?" You ask, "What am I building today, with or without her?" That shift changes everything. You stop reacting, you become selective. You don't need attention to feel worthy. You earn respect by staying focused on what matters. The most attractive men aren't loud about their goals. They're just quietly consistent. And when your mission becomes louder than your emotions, games lose their grip. You're not avoiding her, you're honoring your direction. And nothing is more attractive than a man who moves forward, with or without applause. Part 6. Avoiding emotional retaliation is true inner strength. When someone pushes your buttons, your instinct might be to push back, to match sarcasm with silence, coldness with coldness. But the moment you mirror chaos, you become part of it. And that's exactly how you lose your center. Emotional retaliation feels justified in the moment, but it always costs you more than it earns. Real power is restraint, not because you're weak, but because you know you don't need to respond to every invitation to conflict. The mature man doesn't react just to prove a point. He pauses to protect his peace. He doesn't ignore what's happening. He simply refuses to let it hijack his energy. According to Dr. Susan David, Harvard psychologist and author of Emotional Agility, reacting to emotional triggers without clarity leads to self-sabotage. Growth begins the moment you choose the longer road of composure over the quick hit of retaliation. That choice, repeated often, builds something few people have today: emotional authority. So when she tries to provoke you with passive comments or distance, let her. Observe, acknowledge it, but don't swing back. Respond, if needed, with calm clarity. Or simply withdraw your energy without ceremony. That's not weakness. That's emotional mastery in action. Because the man who doesn't retaliate isn't afraid to fight. He simply knows that not every battle is worth stepping off the mountain for. And when you stay up there, watching storms pass below, you stop being manipulated. You start being respected. Part 7. Communicating clearly and firmly commands respect without raising your voice. You don't have to yell to be heard. You don't have to explain everything to be understood. A calm, direct voice often speaks louder than anger ever could. When a man communicates with clarity and composure, he creates a boundary without creating a scene. And that kind of communication, it earns respect before it demands it. Most men either over-explain or stay silent. They fear sounding controlling, so they become vague. Or they wait too long, and when they finally speak, it comes out as frustration, not clarity. But the grounded man speaks early, simply, and without tension. He says what he means, without needing her to agree. And that, ironically, makes her listen more. Clinical psychologist Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, creator of nonviolent communication, taught that honest self-expression, without blame, builds deeper connection and stronger influence. Clear words with calm energy show strength, not aggression. They say, "I know my standards, and I'm not afraid to live by them." For example, instead of reacting to disrespect with anger, say, "That doesn't work for me," or "Let's talk when the energy is more respectful." These statements aren't ultimatums, they're signals. They say, "I respect myself and I expect the same." The moment you stop over-explaining and start speaking with calm certainty, the dynamic shifts. You stop trying to convince her to change. You show her who you are and let her decide if she can meet you there. And when a man can speak his truth without trembling, he doesn't need to raise his voice to leave a lasting impact. His tone becomes his boundary, his words, his presence. Part 8. Prioritizing your own well-being isn't selfish, it's survival. When a man constantly puts someone else's comfort above his own peace, he doesn't look strong, he looks lost. You can't be present for anyone if you're constantly abandoning yourself. And yet, many men wear burnout like a badge of honor. as if self-sacrifice proves love. But there's nothing romantic about emotional exhaustion. You can be compassionate without being depleted. You can be generous without being available to chaos. Prioritizing your own well-being isn't selfish, it's how you stay whole. Because if she's allowed to be unpredictable, distant, or disrespectful, and you keep showing up at full capacity, what message are you sending about your own value? Psychologist Dr. Kristen Neff, a leading researcher on self-compassion, found that people who treat themselves with the same kindness they offer others are more emotionally resilient, not less. Taking care of yourself isn't weakness. It's the foundation for everything else you want to give or receive. That means getting enough rest, setting digital boundaries, saying no when something feels off, walking away not because you don't care, but because you finally do about yourself. A man who makes his peace a priority becomes untouchable to emotional chaos. Because he knows anyone who truly wants to be in your life will meet you where you already stand. You won't need to chase them, fix them, or save them. You'll just need to stay rooted and let them rise if they're ready. Part 9. Practicing patience separates the grounded from the desperate. Desperation is loud. It texts too soon, explains too much, and reacts too fast. Patience is silent. It observes. It waits. It lets things unfold without the need to control them. And in that silence, you find real power. Most men panic when a woman pulls away. They fear they're losing her, so they rush in, trying to fix what hasn't even broken yet. But urgency is rarely attractive. It feels like pressure. Patience, on the other hand, creates space. It says, I trust myself enough not to chase uncertainty. Patience is not passivity, it's presence. It's knowing when to act and when to let someone show you who they are without your interference. That kind of restraint builds tension, not the anxious kind, but the magnetic kind. Because the man who doesn't need to force the moment becomes the one she keeps thinking about. According to ancient Stoic texts, including those of Marcus Aurelius, nothing is stronger than a man who rules himself. And the ability to wait without crumbling? That is modern self-mastery. It shows emotional security, maturity, and an unshakable sense of timing. So when she goes distant, you don't panic. You let her go, not out of indifference, but because you value connection that flows, not one that needs to be dragged. You trust that what's aligned will return, and what doesn't, you never need it. Because the man who can wait without meeting is the man who has already won. Part 10. Knowing when to walk away is the quietest form of power. There's a moment in every dynamic where words no longer change anything, where your silence speaks louder than explanation, and your absence teaches more than your presence ever could. Walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It says, I've seen enough, I've tried enough, and now I choose peace over patterns. Most men stay too long. They wait for things to improve, for her to see their worth. But the grounded man knows if you have to beg to be chosen, you're already losing yourself. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about your energy to stop wasting it. It's quiet, not bitter. Calm, not cold. It's the moment you realize that staying available to inconsistency is a form of self-abandonment. According to Dr. Ramani Durvasula, expert in narcissistic relationships, leaving a toxic loop is not giving up. It's breaking a trauma bond. And that requires more strength than staying in the hope of change. Walking away isn't closing your heart, it's opening your future. So when the game becomes the relationship, when the connection feels more like survival than safety, you don't fight harder. You exit quietly with dignity intact. No drama, no begging, just a simple, unwavering decision. This isn't mine to fix anymore. And here's the paradox. When you walk away for the right reasons, you don't just leave her wondering. You walk straight into a version of yourself that no longer needs to be tested. Because the man who knows when to walk away is no longer seeking power, he is power. If you've made it this far, you already know this wasn't just a list of tactics. It was a quiet revolution, a reset, a return to who you are beneath all the noise. We didn't teach you how to manipulate, chase, or win her attention. We walked you through something stronger: how to protect your peace, honor your energy, and reclaim your emotional authority. Because the truth is, the most powerful man in the room doesn't have to prove it. He speaks less, reacts less, feels more, but shows it wisely. And when tested, he doesn't fight for validation. He chooses silence over ego, stillness over reaction, purpose over persuasion. This is the man who doesn't get caught in games because he no longer plays them. He's not afraid to walk away, not out of pride, but out of peace. And that kind of peace, it's rare, it's magnetic, it's unforgettable. So here's your next move. Don't chase, don't beg, don't perform. Just become, quietly, consistently, and let the world adjust to the version of you that no longer compromises to be seen. Because once you master your inner world, everything outside it starts to fall in line, or fall away. And either way, you win.